So going over the homework, page 24, 17 through 19. Number 17 was going to school. Students in a high school statistics class were given data about what's wrong with that graph?
It's like represented weird.
There's no appropriate scale.
Proportions are wrong.
Yeah.
And so everything else, that proportions are off. There's no scale, or the scale's off. It's not represented right. All those are correct. It partially starts to do something right, like where it says one of the people is 2 walkers and one bus is 7 bus takers. Mm-hmm. And so 3 drawn people should be representing 6 people. 1 bus should be representing 7. And those are actually proportionally pretty close. But then 1 car is longer than 2 people. And that 2 should be the same as 2, not 2 same as 4. Mm-hmm. So it's not just that it's the pictures part, but it's that, like, proportionally stretching, like you were saying, it doesn't represent. The easiest way to redo this graph is to just do it as a what? Bar graph. Vertical or horizontal, doesn't matter. It's easier just to switch it to a bar graph instead of pictograph. 18, does eating oatmeal reduce cholesterol? Advertisement included in the following graph as evidence that the answer is yes. Looking at this graph, it definitely looks like yes. It definitely looks like a dramatic, or a fairly dramatic decrease day to day, week to week. This is something that I have a lot of people overlook on the first day. How is this graph misleading?
They're spaced out by like 1.
It did start from 0.
They're spaced out really close, and they didn't start at 0. So the whole graph, the y-axis is from 196 to 210. So like week 1 is 209, week 2 is 205. So out of 205, that only dropped 5. Is that a huge drop?
No.
Did the picture make it look like it's a big drop? Yeah. So the picture basically zoomed in and magnified to make it look more dramatic than it really is. So not including the whole picture makes it look a lot more dramatic than it actually is, and that's why it's misleading. If you drew this one to scale all the way starting at 0, your bars look a lot more similar than they do in this picture. That is something that comes across later that people overlook. So do make sure that you know what I'm talking about with that problem. Number 19, this is the one about recycled paper and recycling, not recycling, and the quality. I only asked you kind of pieces of what we did yesterday. So this one says, how many people does this table describe? Well, that's just figuring out totals. How many total people does table describe? So 19A, the beginning is what? 133. And it also asks how many of these were buyers of coffee filters made from recycled paper, which is a margin total, not an overall total, and that totals how much? 36. So it's basically saying, in context, find the overall total and then find a marginal total. Part B says, give the marginal distribution of opinion of quality of recycled filters. So if you're doing the marginal distribution of opinion, you are no longer looking at all about the buyers versus non-buyers. You're going to group it all together as the 3 different qualities, which means you're going to have 3 different percents. Say that again.
And add 2 of them.
And add what?
The higher and the same.
Oh, yeah, for the second part, yes. So I'm just going to read through this. For higher, you would get 49 over 133, which is about 36.84%. The same as 32 over 133, which is about 24.06%. And then lower is 52 over 133, which is 39.10%. Remember, I said that if you do something on a test or a quiz, I want to see the numbers that you did, like the 32 over 133, in addition to the percent. And the second part says, what percent think that the quality of recycled product is the same or higher? So that's what she was answering. I just do what with those percents? Add them together, and I get about 60.9%. What's another way that I could have done that same thing?
100 minus 39.10.
100 minus the lower and see what's left over. Questions on the homework? I will say this, just, I don't know why, maybe think about it just now. Yes, some of your answers are in the back. Sometimes I give you questions where the answer's in the back, which doesn't bother me at all. But if your answer is nothing like I expect you to do and it's just the answer from the back, I'm probably not going to give any credit for it. So I don't mind you looking back there and using it. But if it doesn't look like anything like the way we did it in class, probably don't do it. All right, so I'm doing this same video, going straight from homework into our first set of notes. You don't have to write anything today. I mean, not today. You don't have to write anything right now. We're just going to go through some misleading graphs. Some of them, like this, are kind of, I'm sure they're made up graphs. Most of the ones at the end are actual real graphs that were used. What's the issue here?
They're not the same width.
They're not the same width. So then you're dealing with area, and your area is increasing by a larger number than the difference between the two. So like this is 17 and this is 36. So a little bit more than half. That looks a whole lot more than twice that one because we're dealing with area, not just height. Same information, graph two different ways. And you always get people, especially like high schoolers who want to make a PowerPoint or whatever, the presentation, are like, well, that one looks a whole lot cooler.
It makes the height look misleading.
It looks a whole lot more misleading. So please don't do that when you do presentations for your classes. In the top one, you can tell that 95 and 97 are really close. I don't even give you all the context, but you don't need it. But the bottom one makes it look like 95 is higher. This one was SAT scores for different schools. This is how they represented their graph. I would imagine Dutch Fork is the one who came up with this data, or not data, this graph. What's wrong with this one?
You can't tell where the top of it.
Part of it you can't tell where the top of it is. What else? Didn't go all the way down to 0, so they're trying to make it look like what? A bigger difference than it actually is. This one, I had to take a picture of my computer screen because this is from Graham County Schools that was on our screens that goes through every day. And the worst part is they did a terrible job of it and they made themselves look worse than they should have. The first part is college entrance test, and this was maybe a couple years ago. Seniors taking the SAT. So if you're looking at this really quick, all the stuff over here, what does it look like is happening?
A lot more taking it.
A lot more are taking it. That's right. But right here, it says, in this year, we state mandated it for all juniors. Well, obviously, the numbers are going to go up when we make you take it. I don't know why they wanted to tell people that more people are taking it because men take it, whatever. That's kind of stupid. Our students' SAT score of 19.2 exceeds the state average of 18.5. That's actually a positive, but visually that doesn't really pop out. I don't know why they kind of did that one that way. That one's okay. Here, our students' SAT scores are higher than the state and nation. Graham County Schools, nation, South Carolina. So that information is correct. First issue, obviously, is what? Or possibly. Okay, do you see anything wrong with that?
Oh, yeah.
What does it make it look like?
Oh, the FC shouldn't be that far down, should it?
Or,
It's like
Nation should be lower.
so we did a terrible graph to make us look worse than we did.
Yeah.
The difference between here is what, 30?
Yeah.
The difference between here is 7. But this is a very small gap here, and this is a big gap here. So if we had done it the right way and actually put it down here, we look better, and it's actually correct. So they did the wrong thing to make themselves look worse. It's disappointing. I will say I did not choose these on purpose, but a lot of these just came from Fox News. Cost of gas. It's got a timeline there. Do you see any issues here? Okay, doesn't start at 0. What else?
On the x-axis scale is really weird.
Last week, current.
Oh.
Well, obviously in the last year it's going to change a lot, but this whole half of the graph is representing a year, and this half of the graph is representing a week. So 6-cent change in a week is probably a lot more dramatic than that over a year, but that's how they wanted to present it, which is terrible. Like I said, these are things that are on the news that people actually listen to and believe. Affordable Care Act enrollment. What do you see is wrong with this graph?
It's increasing as it goes down.
So over here, our numbers are flipped. What else?
The order of the stuff on the x-axis doesn't make much sense.
I don't know why they even made this graph. There's no dates with those. We have no idea if those dates go in order. We have no idea how far apart the dates are, even if they are in order. They just kind of picked out to put them there. What about this one?
They show the random dates to make it seem like a straight line.
What else? Oh, this one actually is possibly scaled correctly over here, maybe. But then we don't know that because I didn't label it. But then these are random dates: December 07, September 08, March 09.
They keep on adding on top of each other instead of showing like the actual jobs lost by that quarter.
Right, so they make it look like it's cumulative, I guess. So there's kind of a lot wrong with that one. This was actually taken from a TV for the 2012 presidential run. What's the issue there?
It
Doesn't
doesn't equal 100.
equal 100. That should not be a pie chart. Also, I think those are just equal pieces, but they put different numbers on them, but I'm not real sure. There's actually something that's really interesting that our brains can't see sections of circles as well as we can with bar graphs. So like if I asked you and didn't put numbers there and asked you which sections were bigger, you would struggle a lot to figure out which one's bigger or comparatively. Whereas in a bar graph, it just pops out and our brains just see it that way. Our brain can't section circles the way we can with like a bar graph. Unemployment rate. What are issues here?
It doesn't go all the way to December.
Doesn't go all the way to what?
December.
Okay, what else?
Doesn't start at 0.
Doesn't start at 0. What else? I'm not sure who made this graph or how they still have a job.
8.6. 8.6 is higher than 8.8.
So we've got 8.6 over here, but 8.8 down here. And then if you look a little closer, so 8.5 is supposed to be here, and 9 is here. These are not graphed right, and I don't know what part of this whole thing that's on there is where it should be, but here, this drops a tenth. It drops a tenth again, but it levels out. It increases by 2/10, which looks like about that same. I don't know. This is just not drawn well, and obviously this is the biggest issue that they didn't. And they're trying to talk about. Oh, they want unemployment to look higher, so they just didn't put 8.6 where it should be. Oh, great! You made it just in time for terrible data. What?
Good morning.
Terrible data, don't you see it? This one is one. A couple of these I just found. What's wrong with this one?
It goes up by a scale of 5, and then it goes to 15.
It goes from 0 to 5 to 20 to 35, and then starts going by 15s. So I guess they're trying to make it look like it jumps or doesn't jump. I don't know what they're trying to do. And down here we've got 9 days, 5 days, 5 days, 4 days. So again, they kind of just pick some dates to put on there. I'm not real sure. This one's harder to see from your desk. And these are ones I looked up this morning, so a lot of them are COVID related. What do you think they are trying? Well, this is really hard to see from where you are. The dates on the bottom are actually going up day by day, I think. But over here we've got 30, 60, 90, and then 100. And then 130. And then 160, 190, and then we skip to 240. And then we just get back to 250. And then 300. So these are all over the place to where, like, this difference right here, they're trying to like make gaps appear that aren't there. I don't know what they're trying to do, to be honest. I just want their job. What about this one? This one's more subtle at first. Oh, there's another thing that I didn't even notice. Wow, there's something that I didn't notice that's even more terrible.
They don't have a. Do they have a key?
Yeah, it's up top. This says April 28th. This says April 27th. This is April 29th, May 1st, April 30th, May 4th, May 6th, May 5th. I don't know what they did. I think they just put them in order. They put them in height order or something. I didn't even notice that part earlier. What else do you notice? So yes, there is a key up here. They're not in the same order. So like blue is on the left here, but now blue is on the right. Now I guess blue's on the right. Then orange is on the left. Then now it's here. Can you really, if they were in order by date, could you really even compare those? Because you can't tell what one's doing because you'd have to find it in every one of them. This one should probably be indicative of the study itself. I don't know what they were trying to say. I don't know what the information means. Those numbers don't add up. And even if it were, and those were the right numbers, they're completely different time frames. They're talking about sections of different groups. And if this is 34, how is that 51? I don't know. There's a lot wrong with that one. So, just all that to say, there's a lot of misleading data out there, and not just like from people who don't. You're going to get people who tell you something and they don't know what they're talking about. There's a lot of stuff even out there on the news that is very, very incorrect. Just hopefully the more y'all learn, the more you'll notice that.